Let me tell you something that most people will never fully accept. Something that goes against almost everything the self-help world has been selling you for years. Motivation is a liar. Not a small lie, not a harmless one. A deep, convincing, repeatedly destructive lie that has kept more people trapped in the same place, the same patterns, the same unfulfilled potential than almost any other belief they carry. It feels real. That is the problem. When motivation hits, it feels like this is it. It rushes in like a wave and makes you believe, genuinely believe, that this time is different. This time you are going to follow through. This time the fire is real and it is not going out. You feel unstoppable. You feel clear. You feel like the person you have always wanted to be is finally, after all this time, waking up inside you. And then life happens. A bad night of sleep, a stressful week at work, a small setback that knocks you slightly off course, an ordinary Tuesday with no external pressure, no dramatic reason to push, nothing to ignite the fire. And just like that, motivation is gone. Completely, silently, without warning, like it was never there at all. And you are left alone with your choices, with the same excuses you had before the wave hit, with the gap between who you are and who you keep telling yourself you are going to become, sitting there, unchanged, maybe even a little wider than before. Here is the truth that will either shake you or free you. Probably both. Your life will never change as long as you are waiting to feel ready. Not until you stop waiting. Not until you build something that does not require a feeling to function. Not until you understand what actually drives lasting change. And it is not motivation. It never was. Think about how many times you have felt motivated. Really think about it honestly. That surge of energy after watching an inspiring video, that rush of absolute clarity at the start of a new year, a new month, a new week. This is the one. This is when everything finally changes. That electric feeling after reading something that made you want to completely overhaul your entire life. You are going to fix your diet, your sleep, your routine. Build the business, get in shape, read every single morning, and stop wasting hours on things that do not matter. All of it, starting right now. And then 2 days later, nothing. Maybe 3 days if you were really fired up. The feeling fades. The routine slips. The excuses return, dressed in slightly new clothing. And you are back exactly where you started. Maybe feeling a little worse, because now you have one more failed attempt sitting on the list. And the question creeps in, what is wrong with me? Why can I not just stay consistent? Here is the answer. It is not what you want to hear, but it is what you need to hear. There's nothing wrong with you. The problem is not your willpower, your character, or your potential. The problem is that you built your entire plan on the single most unstable foundation available to you. You built it on emotion. Motivation is not a personality trait. It is not a skill you can develop. It is not a habit. It is a feeling. And feelings are tied directly to your mood, your sleep, your stress levels, the last conversation you had, the last thing you ate. They shift constantly. They do not care about your goals. They do not honor the promises you made to yourself. So if your entire plan depends on feeling like doing the work, you have already lost before you started. Because feelings will always, without exception, choose whatever is most comfortable in that exact moment. And comfort is precisely where your potential goes to die. Quietly, without drama, one avoided task at a time. Here is something I need you to sit with, not skim, not nod at and move past. Actually sit with it. Right now, at this exact moment, you are making decisions that will define the next 10 years of your life. Not someday, not in the big, visible, dramatic moments. Right now, in the ordinary, forgettable, seemingly harmless decisions you make every single day without even recognizing their weight. The decision to start or delay, to push through discomfort or retreat from it, to honor your own standard or quietly lower it when no one is watching. To do the hard thing now or tell yourself you will do it tomorrow while knowing deep down that tomorrow will look exactly like today. Most people do not see what is really happening. They think they're just taking it easy for one day, just being realistic, just giving themselves grace. But every single one of those decisions is doing something far more consequential than they realize. It is training them. Every time you delay, you train yourself to delay more easily next time. Every time you choose a path of least resistance, when the harder path was right there, you make the easy path more automatic, more instinctive, more default. Every time you say, I will start tomorrow, you reinforce an identity. The identity of someone who always starts tomorrow. And that identity compounds quietly, invisibly, day after day. That is the real danger. Not one catastrophic failure, not one moment where everything visibly falls apart. 1,000 small surrenders, each one feeling reasonable, each one barely noticeable, compounding into a life that feels permanently stuck, where your potential feels real but permanently out of reach. Stagnation is harder to escape than failure. At least failure is loud enough to force a response. Comfortable stagnation just keeps you exactly where you are indefinitely. So what is the actual answer? Not hype, not a new playlist or a motivational quote on your wall, or a morning routine you found in a YouTube video. Not another journal you will fill out for a week before it collects dust. One word, one principle. The single thing that has separated high performers from everyone else across every field, every era, every culture in human history. Discipline, not the Instagram version, the highlight reel of 4 a.m. alarms and cold plunges and color-coded schedules. Real discipline, the kind that does not negotiate with how you feel, the kind that does not take days off because you are tired, stressed, or not feeling it, the kind that is built into your system, not dependent on your mood. Here is the most important thing you will ever understand about discipline. It is not a feeling, it is a decision. One decision made once with complete conviction, then executed every single day, regardless of circumstances, regardless of whether any part of you wants to show up. You do not wake up each morning and decide whether you feel like being disciplined. You made that decision already. At an identity level, all that remains is execution. Once that moves from something you intellectually agree with to something you actually operate from, everything changes. Because now you are no longer a prisoner of your emotional state. You are in command of your actions regardless of how you feel. That is real freedom. The freedom to become who you decide to become, no matter what your emotions are doing on any particular morning. Here is what most people get completely wrong about discipline. They think it means being brutal with yourself, white-knuckling through every day in a state of grim, joyless endurance. Forcing yourself through suffering indefinitely with no end in sight. That is not it. Real discipline is about building something stronger than your excuses, something more reliable than your moods. A system, an identity, a set of non-negotiable standards that hold whether conditions are perfect or falling apart around you. And here's what that building process genuinely looks like in practice. Every time you push past the moment you do not want to move, you get stronger. Not just mentally, neurologically. You are reinforcing the neural pathways that make disciplined action more automatic, more natural, more accessible the next time that moment arrives. Every time your mind tells you to quit and you refuse, you win a small, compounding victory over your own resistance. Every rep, every page, every unglamorous hour of work adds to something quietly growing beneath the surface. It builds, it stacks, it compounds. Until one day, and this is the transformation most people never reach, you realize you no longer need to feel motivated to act. You do not wait for the feeling. You do not even notice its absence. You simply act, because that is who you have become through thousands of small, private, repeated choices that nobody else witnessed. Most people never get there, not because they were incapable, but because they never stopped waiting for the feeling long enough to find out what was on the other side of it. Everything said so far is theory until life actually tests it. And life will test it. Not maybe, guaranteed. There will come a moment, perhaps it has already arrived, perhaps it is close, when everything hits simultaneously. When the pressure is real, the stakes are genuinely high, the circumstances are working against you, and there is no surge of motivation, no external force pushing you forward. In that moment, everything you have built will either hold or collapse. If your foundation is motivation, if you have been performing only when you feel good and feel ready, it will collapse. The emotion will already be gone. The wave will have passed, and there will be nothing underneath it. But if your foundation is discipline, if your habits are stronger than your excuses, your standards deeper than your emotions, your identity built on action rather than feeling, you will not just survive that moment, you will feed on it. You will be the one performing when everyone else is falling apart, showing up when others are drowning in excuses, getting sharper under pressure while everyone around you goes soft. Not because you are extraordinary by nature, because you built something real during the easy days, so it holds during the hard ones. That is the edge, available to anyone, but only built one way. Motivation will fail you. Hear that not as a discouraging statement, but as the most liberating truth you have ever accepted. It will fail you every single time. Eventually, no matter how powerful it feels in the moment, no matter how different this time appears, it will fade. That is its nature. That is what it has always done and will always do. The moment you accept that fully, not just intellectually, but in your gut, in the way you actually operate, something permanently shifts, a weight lifts. You stop building your future on something that was never capable of supporting it. You stop waiting for the feeling. Stop negotiating with your mood. Stop asking yourself whether you feel like doing the hard thing. You simply do it because the decision about who you are has already been made. You become the person who shows up in the silence after the inspiration is gone, who executes on the ordinary Tuesday with no pressure, no diets, no reason except one, the commitment to the standard you set for yourself. That person is not defined by how they perform when conditions are perfect. They are defined by how they perform when conditions are hard, when it hurts, when no one is watching. And they show up anyway. That is the system. The only path that has ever actually worked for anyone who built something real and lasting. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is permanent. Build the thing that lasts. If this hit different, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on notifications. New content every single week. And share this with someone who needs to stop waiting and start building today.